What up, YouTube? My name is Darren. I am the idiot that plays Skyrim on a treadmill with a bow trainer. And yeah, a lot of stuff dropped about the OGL 1.1, 2.0, whatever they're spinning it to be now. And I just wanted to respond. Mostly I'm responding to something that the rules lawyer and something that D&D Short had mentioned today. And I just kind of want to put those two things together in a very important way. Apparently, WotC's recent response on D&DBeyond. By the way, I'm not going to D&DBeyond to look at this stuff. I'm only seeing it through other YouTubers that are doing it. I actually recommend that unless you are a D&D YouTuber with a large audience, unlike me with like 108 people at this point, unless you have a large audience, just don't even go to D&DBeyond right now, right? If you really need to look up something for Dungeons and Dragons 5e, I'm sure that there are some 5e tools out there for you to use that do not require you to give traffic to D&D Beyond. Hurt their traffic. Also, this leaves it open for when YouTubers that are actually feeding you information, like D&D Shorts, need to go check something, that it's there instead of breaking it the way that we all broke Paizo's website when they released the ORC. So, yeah, I would say just don't even go to D&D Beyond right now. Just avoid it. Unless you're canceling your subscription, don't even go there. All right? Sure, you can find some other 5e tools out there to access D&D books if that's something that you need to do right now for your game. Anyway, so the big things that have come out are that they're going to release a survey about the new OGL. But as D&D Shorts has seen through discussing surveys with various WotC employees, they don't read your open feedback. They don't read the open responses. Those just go into the void. They put them in there, supposedly, allegedly. They ask for those responses so that you don't email them or at them on Twitter or anything else. They're doing it so that there's a place for them, and then they're tossing them. It's basically like that old comic strip with like the suggestions box that just feeds into a paper shredder. That's basically where your responses are going. Now, the actual numbers on the survey, they are using those. They're putting those through some data analytics. That's what they do. Now, granted, you could put feedback text through models and pull data from them and data mine them. I mean, that's what I do for a living, right? I work for a video game company diving through player feedback and pulling stuff out for mostly for QA. But, so if everyone's complaining about the same quest, that we have an email that goes out every week that, hey, this week, these are the big things that people were talking about, and here's the most helpful of the feedbacks from that. Boom. All, of course, found by data science. I, of course, had to train those models, which meant digging through a lot of data, which I used to call going to the salt mines, because gamers are salty. So it's possible to do, but I also know that WotC, not really into data science. Again, I've got a video, I'll put a link in the doobly-doo, to my experiences applying to a job at WotC as a data analyst, trying and asking if they could turn that to a data science job, and well, not something that they're really into, which I think you can see from the way that they thought this whole OGL thing was a good idea. So, your survey responses, your actual open response, the things that you write, go into the garbage. Therefore, if you take their survey at all, which I'll get to why we shouldn't, but if you take their survey at all, don't bother. Now, their survey is going to come out, and they're probably going to give you a 2-week period to fill out that survey so that they can say we've gotten this many responses when they have a shareholder meeting on the 7th of February. This is something that I gleaned from actually looking at the rules lawyer's comment section. So they're going to have a meeting on the 7th of February. They want to say, hey, look, here's all these survey responses. People are still interested in D&D. These subscription cancellations will pass. This will pass. Don't worry. We're still going to make mad money over monetizing D&D with Astral Diamonds and whatever else they've got planned. Do not take the survey before February 7th or even on February 7th if you're going to take it at all. Because that is traffic. That will show the shareholders that they're on the right path. If no one's taking the survey, then they know that they've lost. Some higher-ups are probably going to lose their jobs, and then things might change, but that's about the only way we can do it. We need them to say, hey, look, we're making this truly open, irrevocable go. We're done trying to over monetize you. Because honestly, like I'm not against monetization. I work in the video game industry. I'm not against monetization as an idea. What I'm against is toxic monetization. And there's a huge difference between, hey, we need to make money so we can pay our people, and the microtransaction, fake money, BS environments that a lot of games do, right? And that's that toxic monetization that we don't want. I'm pretty sure if they had a reasonable rate for a subscription to their VTT, you'd pay it. I mean, I'm paying for VTT right now. You probably are too. Especially if you play online, you're probably paying for a VTT subscription. You might have had a DNDBeyond subscription. These are things that are worth it for you, right? A little bit more money here, a little bit more money there, that's not going to be a big deal. But when to make your little mini, you get microtransaction to death trying to change the color of your hat, that's going to be a problem. And it's that level of monetization that we're trying to avoid, and also the OGL thing. Now, granted, I know a lot of people, like Rules Lawyer, have kind of thrown some shade towards this video, but Legal Eagle does have a really good video on this. Now, it's not about, granted, he doesn't really cover why this matters to the community and why people are so upset. What he does cover well, though, is why we never really needed one in the first place. It was just an assurance from WotC that they weren't going to sue us. And so it's a declaration of war on their own community by getting rid of it. Because now they're saying, hey, we're going to be just as bad as TSR was. And they're also suing TSR. One of the TSRs that came out of, because after a certain period of time, I guess company names can just go back into, yep, this is available now. It's not like you can never be, like, for example, I think pretty soon you can have a company called Enron if you want. Yeah. The name's poison, but you could do it. And I don't remember the time period on that. I don't care. There's a time period where all of a sudden things come open again, and TSR came open again. 2 companies grabbed it, and one of them is getting sued by WotC because their game is, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but their game is essentially racist. It's not even racist. It's flat out white supremacist. It's terrible. Like, avoid the New Star Frontiers. Just don't even touch it. Like, just, yeah. Let that TSR die. I think that's Gygax's kid too, so that's interesting. And some other guy. I don't know which one of them decided to go all white supremacist on it, but I don't know which one dresses up as a ghost for Halloween, but you know what? At least one of them does. So we should ghost them, because that's how they dress. To steal Stephen Hofstadter's great little comeback about ghosting racist. But anyway, yeah. So do not take the survey. They're just going to use that to say that they're winning to their shareholders. The survey is just there so they can say, hey, we got all this traffic. That's all it's for. Avoid DNDBeyond. Find some other 5e tools to help you run your D&D games if you're still playing D&D. Or if, like me, you've decided to switch games to a different system, you just don't need it. I'm playing Dungeon World. And again, I recommend you check out Dungeon World. You check out Pathfinder 2e. I mean, if you want a company that likes you, doesn't want to declare war on you, Paizo's, as far as companies go, Paizo wins, I think. I don't like Pathfinder 2e. I think it's a lot of the problems I have with D&D 5e are worse in Pathfinder 2e, but if you're into all the player options and tons of options and, you know, choice paralysis when you're making characters, great. Pathfinder 2e is for you. If you love that, if you love the options and more options and all that, Pathfinder, that's your game. I think Dungeon World is good, especially if you got into this because you really like Critical Role and you really like the storytelling and that immersion that Matt Mercer puts into his games and that his players also put into their games. Dungeon World is the game for you. It really encourages that. It's that style of play cranked up to 11. And 11 is good because it's 10 plus means success. And that's a 2d6 system. You'll have to get used to that. Yeah. There's other games out there as well. If you got into it because of Stranger Things, obviously pick up an old school Renaissance clone. But anyway, major points are they don't read the open responses on their surveys. And they want data. So unless some other YouTuber has a much more compelling reason to tank their survey, which they might once the survey's out, there might be a really compelling reason to tank it, and I'll even retract this and post my own thing just saying, hey, let's tank it. But unless that's the case, don't take their survey. Don't even go to D&D Beyond. All right, anyway, peace out, everybody.